Greetings, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Metal Command podcast. Tony here with you, and today I want to give a big shout out to Rhino Records for putting out this amazing Dio reissue here, the Holy Diver box set. If you haven't picked it up, if you love this album, I highly recommend it, and this is going to be the topic for today's show. So, with that being said, if you like what you see and hear on this program, please hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell to be notified whenever I post a new video. And I'm interested to hear what you all think in the comments about the Dio Holy Diver reissue, this big box set here. If you bought the vinyl version of it, I'm curious to what you think about that. And we're going to get into it now. Holy Diver, one of the most iconic metal albums of all time. And if you are a Dio fan, which there are, most metal fans really love Dio for the most part, this is typically the favorite album of every Dio fan. Like people that listen to Dio with his solo albums, they all point to this one. I'd say almost everybody points to this album. Some people might like Last in Line a little bit better, or some people might like, Sacred Heart a little bit better. Both are great records. But this is generally seen as his best solo album, which is the first solo album. And it is easily, like, if you were to come to me and say, it's someone that had never listened to heavy metal in their life, and you came to me and said, what would be like 25 albums that I should get? This would be one of the ones that I would name. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about what's in it. So what's in it, basically, you have a remixed version of the album. You have a remastered version of the album. You have a live album entitled Live in Fresno. And you have a fourth CD with a bunch of outtakes, edits, some random remixes, some rarities basically associated with this. So let me talk about the remix, because that is probably the most controversial thing that typically happens when somebody reissues an album. Remixes and re-recordings, for whatever reason, they have been a trend in the metal scene. I don't know what it is, but a lot of bands are doing re-recordings and remixes. I would probably say when it comes to a remix or a re-recorded song, I would say it's 50-50 whether I like the new version better or the old version better. Usually. I mean, as far as re-recordings go, that would be 50%. When it comes to remixes, I would say 25% of the time, I like the remix better than the album. So some examples of albums that I like the remix of the album better than the original. Brainstorm, for those of you that know who they are, they put out the album Memorial Roots. The mix in the album was terrible. They remixed it. It is like night and day. The sound is absolutely amazing. Then Blind Guardian, for example, remixed a lot of their old albums. And when it comes to like A Night at the Opera or Imaginations from the Other Side, I think the remixes were a huge upgrade over the original sound of the albums. So those would be some examples of me liking something better when it was remixed. And I can't remember the Nevermore album, but I like to say Enemies of Reality. That remix was a lot better than the original. So I'm going to talk about the remix here. So the remix here on the album, to me, I think sounds really good. It sounds pretty close to the original, actually. It doesn't deviate much. However, what did happen is that there was a little bit of low end added to the album. A lot of people complained about the album sounding thin and whatnot, but there was a subtle amount of low end that I feel that I heard in here that sounded different. On top of that, in between the songs, you could hear the drummer 4-count. I don't think you could hear that in the previous mix on the album, but I think the remix is pretty good. It's a lot cleaner, a little bit clearer. It doesn't deviate much. If people think there's going to be some drastic change, I can tell you, for my ears, I don't really hear a massive drastic change aside from a little bit of low end being added to it. There is a remastered version of the album, which, I don't know, they remastered these a long time ago. For those of you that bought the Decade of Dio box set, which I'm holding right here, if you bought that set, I bought this and the vinyl set. The remaster is very good. It doesn't sound anything different than what this sounds like. It could be the same exact remaster. I don't know, but I'm going to guess that it is. I don't know why they would go and remaster it for that, but they may have remastered it specifically for this, but they may not have. But anyhow, the remaster is what it is. It's the original mix. That's nothing new, and there's really not much to talk about there. Now, here's where the best part of the box set comes in. There is a live album entitled Live in Fresno, and then you have a CD full of rarities, which we're going to talk about. These two are the gems of this album. They really are. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the live album, Live in Fresno. And I'm going to be honest, when I heard this for the first time, I probably spent 4 hours when I received this going through the book, which I'll show you here in a minute, and listening to the live album and listening to the remaster and the remix, et cetera, et cetera. But the live album, Live in Fresno, the sound is absolutely amazing. In fact, this live album is probably the best Ronnie James Dio live album I have ever heard. There's a lot of cool stuff. So I saved this. This was actually the backing thing, the track listing. So if you want to take a look, you could see the songs in the set. I don't know if you could see that, but if you take a look, he sings pretty much, the Holy Diver album, and then you have some Rainbow and some Black Sabbath mixed in there. The production quality, the sound quality in this live record, it is absolutely phenomenal. I had to actually go and listen to it 2 or 3 more times to really let it sink in. But this, to me, was Dio in his prime, man. I mean, I know Ronnie's voice never really deteriorated hardly at all from, his entire career. But man, this live record is, with this lineup playing on this album, there's nothing like it that he's ever put out. And I really honestly believe this is the best part about the box set. Then you have this fourth CD of Outtakes. They have outtakes. They have some alternative guitar solos, edits. They have a remix of Evil Eyes, which I think is interesting because there was a 1983 version of it that ended up as a B-side to the Holy Diver single, but Evil Eyes obviously appeared on the album The Last in Line. These outtakes are really cool. It's really interesting to hear some different versions of some of these songs as well. You have, for example, with, let's see here. They have Don't Talk to Strangers, Straight Through the Heart. They have a mono edit of Rainbow in the Dark, which I thought was kind of interesting. Then you have then you go here, you have an alternative guitar solo for Rainbow in the Dark. So it's a song with a different solo. Interesting stuff to listen to, because these are versions of the songs how they could have been, and there are some differences obviously, but going through that rarity section, that fourth CD is amazing. Now, the quality of this thing, I haven't really gone into that, but the quality of this box set, the packaging is great. I mean, they really did put a lot of effort into the packaging of this thing. So, you look in here, you got the CDs in here, you got a nice big booklet in here. You can see where the CDs are at in here. You got all sorts of cool stuff. You take a look in here. There's some great photos. There's some great stuff in this book. Just amazing. This full color book is just phenomenal. It has some of the original liner notes of the original album, but you take a look here with everything in here. This is really well done. It's really, the quality level is a lot higher. And I'm assuming that goes into the price of this thing. But it is, to me, pretty awesome. A lot of really cool stuff written in here. So if you are a fan of Dio, if you are a fan of this album, I cannot recommend this enough. This is, I normally don't like buying reissues that are like this. I don't normally go out and get these reissues that have tons of CDs and all this extra stuff in them. But this album was definitely worth getting, in my opinion. So I give it a 10 out of 10. You should go get it. I'm curious what all of you think about it who have bought it. I'm curious to how many of you have bought the vinyl version of the remix and how many of you love that as well. I'm curious about your thoughts. Leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.